His brothers were jealous of him. But his father kept this matter in mind. Well, his brothers hated him now. They couldn't stand him. This brother, they had these long sleeves, or this colorful coat, would go out to the field. Now, if that coat is my prized possession at my time, in my time of life, do you think I'm going to change oil in the car? Do you think I would work in a cornfield with my suit coat on? No. Why? Because it's going to get tore up. It's going to get tattered. It's going to get snapped. It's going to get dirty. So do you think if Joseph was going out to the fields to quote-unquote work with his brothers, he would stand by and watch? Actually, that's what happened. He wears his coat out to the field one day to report that he was going to quote-unquote spy on his dad, in a way, or on his brothers for his dad. His father tells him to go out and report about your brothers and what they're doing. So he goes out there and he's talking to his brothers, and his brothers actually attack him and rip his coat off of him. And they rip his coat to shreds and tell their father that Joseph was eaten by a beast. And while Joseph is now sitting in the bottom of this well or pit, he hears his brothers up above talking. Well, let's kill him. No one's going to know. We could tell a beast ate him. Tell him, and he dragged it off, and we couldn't overtake the beast. But then he hears a voice of reason. Wait, let's not kill him. Let's not do this evil act. Now we see some people coming by, and we can sell him as a slave. So Joseph gets sold into slavery. Then Joseph becomes, through his slavery, becomes a slave, and then becomes the head of a household, the top slave for a household. He was with a guy named Potiphar. Potiphar was a wealthy man. He was one of the, I would probably say, one of the dignitaries of the Pharaoh. And Potiphar allowed Joseph to run and control all of his household. Well, Joseph, being a good-looking guy, Potiphar's wife tried to make advances towards him. And Joseph refused. And as Joseph was running out of the house, she grabbed a hold of his coat. By the way, I told you Joseph can't keep a good coat. So now he's running out of the house without a coat on. How did God repay Joseph for not sleeping with Potiphar's wife? He actually says to Potiphar's wife, I can't sin against my God. Joseph gets thrown into jail, actually. Before, with Joseph's attitude, we see Joseph with this prideful attitude. He's telling his brothers about these dreams that he's having. Look, you will bow down to me. I'm telling you the truth, it's a dream. He wears this really fancy coat out to the field when his brothers are working. If it's hot and you're working outside and some guy walks up with a suit coat on while you're working, even if he starts working with you, you feel bad that he's working because he's got this nice suit on, a nice coat on. You see, so he has this prideful heart with his coat because he's been set apart by his father. He's a daddy's boy in a way. Well, he gets sold into slavery. His brothers want to kill him. They sell him into slavery. Now he's ahead of Potiphar's house. And the way God pays him back for doing the right thing, he gets thrown into slavery. Wait a second. Sold into slavery. I mean, he's put in prison. Well, let's look in chapter 39, verse 2. What does it say about him being in jail? The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. What? Wait. Hold on. The Lord was with him. Well, it says it later on too. It's verse 20. Let's look at that. But while Joseph was there in prison, the Lord was with him, and he showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. Now, we talked about in Sunday school how prisons back then were virtually a hole in the ground. So God repaid Joseph for doing the right thing by him going to prison. But God was with him. We're going to see here that Joseph's now character is changing. His heart is changing because of the turmoils he's going through. Joseph now is in prison, and a cupbearer, which is a person who would taste the wine or drink before the Pharaoh would drink it. As a cupbearer, he would make sure he would taste it to see how good it was, or to see if it was poisoned. Okay, so his job was the quality of what the Pharaoh was drinking. So he was the cupbearer. And then the baker. We all know what a baker is. He made donuts for the Pharaoh. No, pastries and what have you. So the cupbearer and the baker come to him with these dreams, and he interprets the dreams right. So how does God repay him for interpreting the dreams right? He actually gets forgotten for a couple more years in prison. Well, then now the Pharaoh has his dreams, and no one else can figure out what they are. So the baker all of a sudden remembers, oh, wait, there's this guy back in prison. I remember him. He was kind of scraggly, long-haired, kind of smelly guy too. But I remember he was good at dreams. I mean, he interpreted mine pretty good. Can we go get him and bring him back? I'm pretty sure he can take care of your dream, Pharaoh. So the Pharaoh calls him up. They clean Joseph up, and they set him before the Pharaoh. And so now the Pharaoh tells him his dreams about cattle eating the other cattle and whatnot. And Joseph tells him there's going to be a famine in the land. And the Pharaoh says, well, how are we going to fix this? Well, I got a plan for you. Let's stockpile up our grain. So what happens is the Pharaoh puts Joseph in charge of all the land, in charge of all the welfare of the land. His job was to see to it that all the grain production and the harvesting was under his control and his power. And this great plan of writing out this famine comes to the fact that he is second in line compared to the Pharaoh. So he's in charge of a lot of people. So a young man now who had pride in his heart with a coat his dad made, a shepherd's coat that his father made, was thrown into a well or a pit, sold into slavery, betrayed by his boss's wife, goes into prison, betrayed by those who he helped in prison, is now forgotten for a couple of years. Now, he's wearing the clothes that the Pharaoh would even wear. Now he's wearing clothes much higher, much better than what he ever wore with his father's jacket. The fine linens, the purple robes, the gold trimmings. So what is his pride going to be like now? Now he has something far better than what he used to have, right? His brothers, the ones that threw him in the pit and told their father that he was dead, well, now they need food. And so they come to him. They don't realize it's him. Joseph gives them food and lets them live in the palace. Well, now, a few years later, his father dies. His brothers think, okay, now since Dad's dead, Joseph's going to get back at us. So, what would be Joseph's attitude? What would be your attitude? If someone sold you into slavery, told your father that you were dead, what would you do if someone did that to you? That's what Joseph did. Let's look in Genesis chapter 50. We're going to look at verses 18 through 21. Verse 18 of chapter 50. His brothers then came and threw themselves down before him. We are your slaves, they said. Wait. Wasn't that dream back a few years back? Wasn't that because, didn't Joseph say that you're going to bow down before me, your sheep are going to bow down before me? I remember him saying that. It says here, now they threw themselves down. They bowed down. They threw themselves down on the. Some translations say they threw their faces on the ground. And they cried out, we are your slaves. This is truly fulfilling the dream that Joseph had before.